Welcome to another Free Friday Tidbit. I struggle to understand how we could be at December 2023. Where has the year gone? So, a new month and a new little mini theme for our Free Friday Tidbits, which are designed to teach you little pieces and nuggets from the neurobehavioral model, which was championed by Diane Malbon, well, created by Diane Malbon, from the book Trying Differently Rather Than Harder. If you have not yet read it, get it. It is on Amazon. You can also order it through a marvelous organization called Facets. Terrific book, often referred to as the Bible for folks with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. Everyone should have that book and provide copies of it to their kids' teachers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we live in a world where most families they operate with a nearly universal set of expectations for everyone in the family, right? That children will listen to their parents and obey them, right? That they will eat what's on their plate, right? And whether or not the threat comes, or you'll go to bed without dinner. Yeah, that's up for grabs, whether people do that or cave in. I know in my case, my mom caved in because I was diabetic. I had to eat something. And yes, I used that to my advantage, I will admit, years later. And another expectation is that every family member will be nice to one another during the dinner table, right? At the dinner table. So with a lot of families if there are loved ones with FASD, we find that mealtime becomes a source of stress for the entire family, right? Does this feel familiar to you? Have you had to, maybe you've found a way to make it work for your family, right? But maybe your parents don't agree, or your in-laws don't agree with the way you're coddling your kiddo, and they judge your kiddo harshly for the things that they're doing that are disruptive, right? And if that's happening, then you know that they're also judging your parenting. Am I right? Yeah. And sometimes even spouses are not on the same page with one another, right? Because we all learn things at different rates and in different order. And which is why, spouses should be, or co-parents should both be going through training together, right? That aside, one thing that people also hear, oftentimes hear is when they don't want to change the way they're understanding behavior, they'll say, yeah, but, Billy has to be ready to function out in the real world, right? Have you heard that? Yeah. Given that, have you ever found yourself pleading with your child, offering them a bribe if you can just hold it together for the half an hour while grandma and grandpa are here at the dinner table with us, or even better yet, for the 2 hours of their visit, then we will give you something that they really, really want, right? Wait a minute, what? How's that working for you, right? Would you tell your child in a wheelchair, yeah, you can use your chair here at the house, no problem, but once you go out that front door, you better walk? Would you ever do that? Would you ever tell your blind child, you'd be able to see the blackboard if you just tried harder? Of course not. You would never tell your kids with those types of visible disabilities that they could do things that they clearly can't do if they were properly motivated, or if they tried harder, right? People who are affected by prenatal alcohol exposure whether or not they have the formal diagnosis of an FASD, are people with brain injuries that happened prior to their births. And a brain injury is just as real and just as limiting as a physical disability that you can see, like a missing limb or a missing sensory system. And your kids are already in the real world. Your kids are already being blamed and shamed and punished for behavior that's outside of their control. Why? Because it's not an issue of motivation. Believe me, your kids want to do well. All kids would do well if they could. It's not an issue of motivation. It's an issue of their ability in that moment. You recall in a previous episode, we've talked about one of the hallmark characteristics of FASD is that there's inconsistent performance. We might know something one day and have no clue about it the next day, even if we had spent 4 hours the day before learning about it. Inconsistent access to memory, inconsistent, whether it's cognitive memory or muscle memory, inconsistent, we've been tying our shoes for 6 months and then all of a sudden we don't know what we're doing and we can't make our fingers cooperate, right? That kind of thing confuses us as parents tremendously. But behavior is not about motivation. It's not about making a choice to gain a reward or avoid a punishment. Behavior is always a reflection of how well their brain is working in that moment. So the change has to be in the environment, right? Being able to change your perspective on that is like putting the right prescription into your glasses. And that's what my job is, to help you get that prescription right. For your child's sake, to be able to live up to their potential, right? We need to support them differently. We need to support them as though their struggle is real and get them the support that they need in that moment to be able to meet those expectations. But we also have to have realistic expectations for that child or that person in our life who has FASD, right? And I say person in life because, we were once kids, but we grew up. FASD doesn't go away, right? It just, the challenges look different, but it's still the same struggles, just with different situations, right? So we need to have expectations that are matched to be within 15%, so like we need to adjust our expectations of someone so that the person can meet our expectations 85% of the time. Why? Because it leaves enough room for growth, but it also leaves a lot of success, because someone who never experiences success is not going to strive for growth, right? Someone who tastes success can find hope that they can get it to the next level and scaffold those abilities up, right? But scaffolding is a support. We have to put the right supports in place, and those are environmental, right? So that's enough for today. That's what I got for today, is adjusting expectations and reminding everybody that their loved one with FASD is already in the real world, right? And with that line of thought of function in the real world, why are there curb cuts for wheelchairs everywhere? Because there didn't used to be. Why are there braille markings on elevator buttons everywhere? Because they didn't used to be. Or the crosswalk signs that make the noise? Because that never used to be either. the real world does adapt to the needs of the people living in it. Our task is to educate others that these needs are real and that it behooves all of us to help make the world more accessible for those with disabilities that happen to be invisible, right? Because we can't see the way our brains work. But that doesn't mean that the challenges aren't there and that the challenges aren't real. So let's rise together to provide those supports that will help our loved ones navigate life well. I'll see you next week for the next Free Friday Tidbit. And don't forget to come back on Monday and listen or watch the next episode of Living with FASD. And I'm going to tell you something. This video that you're watching right now is being released on Friday, December 1st, right? On Monday, December 4th, is the 26th episode of Living with FASD. 6 months, y'all, of the podcast being up there. And I'm so excited. I brought back the Dr. Catherine Page, who co-hosted the first couple episodes with me, and I've had her back a couple times since. She's just we have so much fun together. But she's going to be interviewing me, and I have some surprises. So you will have to tune in on Monday to Living with FASD. Check out that episode. It's very special to me, and I hope that you will enjoy it as well. But for now, have a fantastic weekend. And I hope that you give what we were talking about a few minutes ago some thought. Let it sink in and let it be a terrific motivation for parenting just a little bit different, or spousing just a little bit differently. Okay, have a great weekend. Take care, everybody.